what's good, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Java Talks podcast. It is your boy. We're back in it. We're up and running. Today, I'm joined by my number one boy, Yevgeniy. Yevgeniy, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great. Just living life to the fullest,
Lovely.
But
I'm not a kid with the weather. No. So I've been wanting to do this for a while, because kind of jumping into our first topic pretty much off the bat immediately. You and I have been, first of all, in school for a very long time, and in school together for not as long of a time,
but still
a very long time. Yeah.
I've known you for going on 9 years.
Yeah, 9 years, jeez.
It's getting old.
Yeah, seriously. That's a whole childhood, basically.
Yeah.
Seriously. No, I wanted to talk a lot about just school, our different views and all that. Because for those that don't know, we're both, I wouldn't say professional students by any means, but we've got this very strong passion and interest for education and all that. And first off, let me say, it wasn't until after I graduated high school that I really started to kind of focus on and get a grasp of my thoughts and ideas of, first of all, how public school is run, the true value of knowledge and education as a whole, and all that. And it's definitely something that I feel a lot more people should think about, because you got to think that human life, right, it progresses based on knowledge. Like, you first learn about the world around you, and then you learn to move, and then you learn to speak, and then you learn how the world works, and you learn how to live in accordance with it and stuff like that. So I just first off, I want to ask, how do you view the public school system, K-12?
Well, I think my personal experience in public schools was disappointing, not gonna lie. Like, as an institution, what public schools should be, teaching the next generation of people that will run the country,
Right.
I strongly believe that they're not doing their part. I think the whole curriculum thing and the No Child Left Behind Act and everything in general, like, it's kind of just dumbed down to, I guess, trim everyone to the same level. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can agree that everyone excels in their own territory,
Right.
Because some people are better at math than English and vice versa. And so in public schools, they kind of try to balance everything out, but they don't allow the student to specifically learn and excel in what they do best. And then you have the whole problem with standardized testing, which it's just horrible. I'm sure everyone's heard of the quote by Einstein, where if you judge a fish's ability to climb a tree, it'll live its life thinking it's an idiot or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing here. But I don't know. I realized that public schools is kind of just bullshit early on. Like, I stopped doing homework in 6th grade. Didn't do homework at all up until my junior year of high school. I did homework for junior year and a little bit of senior year, and that was it.
Yeah.
And high school definitely made me realize just how terrible the schooling system is and the education that they try to give you. Because most of the teachers there, I wouldn't say they're highly qualified. I would say that a lot of teachers are kind of people that haven't really figured out what they want to do, because a lot of teachers should not be teachers. I would strongly argue that there is a very small percentage of teachers that actually teach well.
Right.
Because from what I've experienced, there were only 2 teachers in my entire like schooling career that I have garnered respect for and have actually valued them as being teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now, was this just K-12, or are we including college professors too?
this is college and high school, I believe.
Okay.
Because don't really remember much of elementary school, because half of elementary school I didn't know English, and the other half I was learning English.
Yeah.
So middle school was just, I don't even know. But in high school, I think it was Mr. Gorham. He was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he kind of set me on the path to this psychology thing that I'm trying out, you know. And then the other teacher would definitely be Scott, the philosophy teacher.
Our philosophy professor, yeah.
Because Scott himself, like, I just look up to him as a role model, honestly, because he's definitely the pinnacle of all of the teachers that I've ever had.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, but yeah, I just definitely don't see public schools fulfilling their role in, I guess, society.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not teaching people well. They give a general outline of what people should, or what kids should know, and they definitely don't set kids up for a good future.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, they're not allowed to necessarily choose the classes that they only want, because when we were in school, you had to be in certain classes. Like, there were requirements where you couldn't get out of those classes, you know, and you were basically allowed to just choose electives, and that's about it. And the difficulty of English, chemistry, or science, and math.
I guess that's a funny give and take, and I guess this was just ignorance on my part of the topic, but I did not know until a few years ago that standardized public schooling, K through 12, at least in Colorado, I don't know if it's all across the U.S., but it's free. Like, you don't have to pay to be admitted, right? Obviously, yeah, you have fees like activity fee or parking fee or something, you know. But as far as just enrollment goes, any student is allowed to enroll at any time, you know. But it's funny. It's like, okay, we have the glorious benefit of free education, but it's pseudo education, you know, because the way that I've seen it, and I didn't really realize any of this until after I graduated. It's all a bit of an appeasal system, right? Because of how I was raised. For, I'd say, grades kindergarten through arguably 5th, I went to public school, but my mom did so much to teach us at home as well. So we were like, my brothers and I were homeschooled in addition to going to public school. And the way that I saw public school, I knew it was something that you had to do, first of all. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to question it. But it always felt like public school was the secondary experience, because I was definitely learning far more from my mom single-handedly than I was from like my teacher, right? And middle school was a bit of a give and take, but I do remember more often than not, my family and I would go to the bookstore whenever one of us had a question, and we would be there for hours just researching in this section on this book, or looking into this book here to learn about history, science, math, the whole 9 yards, across the whole spectrum of everything. And looking back, it was like, okay, this institution that I'm going to is supposed to be feeding me knowledge, but I'm not really being fed, more or less just kind of babysat through my meal of knowledge, if you will, and I'm having to feed myself elsewhere, you know. And it's like, okay, I'm capable of that, but something's not right here, you know.
See, what I encountered as well, like throughout most of middle school and high school, I didn't really pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just said screw it, and I just sat there reading books the entire time.
Right.
This was especially in high school.
Yeah.
But I think books definitely have taught me more than school has. Well, at least K through 12. Like I think I've definitely learned a lot in the few years of college that I've taken.
Right.
But strictly speaking of K through 12, it was just, I really don't remember anything that was useful that I still use today.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they kind of built this base platform to have a general understanding of things, but other than that, there's no significance in what they did. I mean, that's what I feel personally.
Okay.
Because I definitely learned a lot more from the books that I read simply while I was in class. Like I would just put my feet up on the desk, like lay back in my chair.
Yeah, I remember that more often than not.
That's all I did.
Yeah.
And teachers would just be extremely livid about that. And I just found it ironic, because I felt like at that point they were stopping me from reading books because it was their job.
Right.
They didn't really realize that I thought all of this, like what they're teaching, is kind of useless, or like I had a good general understanding of the topic that they were going through already.
Right.
Because they really dumb it down. People that are a little better than average intellectually, they pick up things quickly. I don't want to boast or anything like that, but I definitely picked up things pretty quickly, and that's why I sat in class reading books, But I think a lot of teachers there were just there for the paycheck. Like they were just there because that was their job.
Well, that's another thing is I feel like because right out of high school, teaching was what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to become a music teacher, and I always valued teachers because they teach me things, obviously. That's where I learn from these people. And teachers as a whole, I value, but I hate that I did not realize this until after I graduated, gone through the whole K through 12 experience. And I think in high school I had some grasp of it, but just like with many other things and things that I'm still learning now, it wasn't completely where I knew I wanted to be yet, It's like in a video game where you can look at all the characters, but you know that you're not going to unlock this one until you reach level 30 or whatever, Like I hadn't unlocked that level of understanding yet, but I knew it was there. I learned and although they don't say it outright, because of the policies of our school district, the state, the country, everything, the board, the whole 9 yards, they're required to quote unquote teach a certain way. A lot of students are very quick to blame the teachers, and I'm talking about the ones that actually had put in effort and were smart, weren't just complaining about this here, that there, that there, but they didn't realize that it's not that teacher's fault directly, it's the system as a whole, because they have to teach a certain way. And many teachers and college professors they'll give it to you outright, because at that point you're just people amongst people. That's how that is, right? I mean, yeah, you respect them as your professors, but still, you're all adults. We're all adults. Some of them would say, hey, we have to do this because it's part of the curriculum. And sometimes I could see it on the teachers' faces. No one would ask, and they would say that. And as they said it, you could just tell that they themselves weren't into it either, And it was teachers like Mr. Gorham or a few others. Even my 4th grade teacher, she was, for lack of a better term, real, right? She was down to earth, the whole 9 yards. And although we were young, you figure 9, 10-year-old kids, she would tell us how it was, the world, everything, and we would pay attention to things that I'm sure not nearly, hardly anybody else was paying attention to. She would tell us things about like the pop culture of her time, how things worked, or certain aspects of the film industry. She was really into movies, or if we talked about books, she would give some insight as to like the authors and stuff, not just, oh, let's look at the source material or whatever. And it was very eye-opening at the time. Like, it was like the match, the ignition of my drive to learn legitimately, because it was the first time that I saw a teacher like in this building teaching in a way, or me learning things from them in a way that was reminiscent from how my mom taught us, right? And it's like, okay, I know my mom's teaching us for real. I know I'm learning for real, for certain, from my mom. And this teacher, and this was with every teacher I experienced, it's like this teacher is truly teaching me things. And it's just, it really sucks, because I know so many people that have wanted to become teachers, are practically teachers currently, even past teachers. It's what they want to do. They have a passion for it, and I understand that passion, because that's what I wanted to do at some point. I would still love to do it, but for many different aspects, I won't. And it's like, because of the system, it just takes that passion, says, nope, you're going to stay here. This is where you work. This is how you do things. This is what you're to do. And you're like, okay, well, I have all this knowledge. Ultimately, I just want to teach the next generation of adults. Like, well, yeah, we get that, but you're going to do what we tell you. You're just going to relay this our way. Otherwise, you can seek employment elsewhere. And so it's ironic the way it works, because I'm pretty sure almost every educational system says our goal, we strive to teach students as much as we can to prepare them for the world, for them to go on and then relay that information to the next generation, and so on and so forth. But the way that they're going about it, they're not teaching anything. It's dismal for both the students who don't even know it yet and the teachers who are aware of it and are forced to go through it, realizing that they're telling kids things in a way that almost is not beneficial at all.
Well, see, I'm wondering, like, once this generation dies off, the one that's in charge of everything like that,
Right.
like, they're definitely more bureaucratic about things such as school and everything like that. I'm wondering, will it change anything? Like, will the students that were raised in this shitty system, like, will they realize that there needs to be change, or will they just blatantly ignore that and go with how everyone did it all the time? Because personally, I believe that there needs to be a change, because school has been more of brainwashing, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Because
Not quite indoctrination. But
yeah, because from what I see, it's just like the sparkle of or the flicker of hope that is in every person. It's kind of diminished by school, because yeah, it definitely does kind of indoctrinate.
You really have to throw away yourself just to appease this class here, this test here, these credits here, what have you.
Yep. And that's what we're going to have to go through, like, we are the generation that will either have to make a change, or we're either going to go back to the same way that these baby boomers and everyone else taught things, because like everyone knows the statistic that the school system hasn't been changed in since 1920 something. Like it's been a long time. And if we want the future to be better than what we're living in right now, we definitely need to make a change for the newer generation, because that's who's going to be running the country eventually, and we're all going to be retired, and we are going to be influenced by all the changes that they make, because they'll eventually, replace the people in government, replace all the people in power, anything like that.
Mhm.
And once we are old, we're going to have to deal with the consequences of our own actions,
Yeah.
as there's this quote I like. It's from a movie. It's Fallout,
Yeah.
Mission Impossible. Yeah,
Mhm.
where he says, "This is the fallout of all of your good intentions."
Ooh.
Yeah.
I do like that. I do like
So I just think we have to make some sort of change
that. Mhm.
for the next generation to not turn out like us, but be better.
I think the biggest thing for me, the way that I see it, because although we are like-minded, we're best friends till the nines and all that. The way that I've seen it, and I'm sure you'll agree in part, is it's just blatant ignorance, unawareness, and ignorance. And let me just say, there was a strong difference between ignorance and stupidity, right? People use those words interchangeably when in fact, majority of the time, when ignorance is used properly, it simply means unawareness. It doesn't necessarily say you're dumb or idiotic. You're just unaware, right? To which I've admitted in many arguments, like, sorry, I was ignorant of this. I simply didn't know about it. That's that. But yeah, and I still see it at the college level, of the students that, okay, they went through high school, they did the whole appease the system 4.0, and then they get to college, and now they've graduated college, and they have their degree, but there's no sense of you in that, right? That's what's funny is, my mom's told me this ever since I was little. The minute you get to college, that's you. That's all you. You get to finally do what you want to do, And, I hold that to be self-evident. I mean, I'm figuring out what I want to do. I'm doing what I want to do and all that. But majority of the time, the minute that you get suckered in, and I say suckered in because it's really no different than, like, kiosks at a mall, right? The minute they get you and they've got you, they're going to sell you like crazy. And once you buy in, they won you over. That's how I see certain majors and all that, right? Like the whole, okay, once you go here, you're going to go to a university. You're going to go to a major university. You're going to get your degree there. You're going to take these classes, and you're going to major in this, and you're going to be a proud adult with this degree. Boom. Framed on your wall or your desk. That's your path, The minute that you, I guess, willfully give yourself up to that commitment, not that I have a problem with commitment in that regard, but it seems like the minute that you give yourself up to that commitment and all that, you're still a part of the system. Like, they not only got you into the mall, K through 12, but they managed to sucker you into all those little kiosks that they got. You bought their coupons that look like amazing deals, when really those are, when you crunch the numbers, not that great at all. It's just a scheme to get you to buy more product. And to look at it in a, not monetary, but a business sort of sense, It's funny how almost anything can be looked at it that way. It's an American ideology, it seems. And this isn't me coming out like, yo, America, I'm not a part of you. No, of course, but I do recognize that this country strictly runs on profit.
Well, yeah, it's all based on capitalism.
Right.
That's why a lot of people move here for the quote unquote American dream, because a lot of people come here and they want to open up their own business, and that doesn't necessarily require any formal education or anything like that. Like, if you know how to run a business, you will open up a business.
That's another thing is, and I wanted to touch on this too, because I think this is another aspect of education that gets literally thrown out the window. And that's, I mean, sure, there's common sense, but street smarts, right? A lot of things, and I'm sure the mundane will even argue, yeah, I was never taught this in school. They don't teach this. They don't teach this. They don't teach this. Meanwhile, they're still going to school, doing the same thing like everybody else. And yeah, there's those things that they'll list, but there's also things that they aren't aware of, right? And that's the real street smarts that I'm talking about. Awareness of this, knowing how to do this, what happens if you're in this situation or this situation here, you know. And that's not something that you're going to ever learn in a school. That's one of those, you just go out into the world and you learn it. Most likely the hard way, but you're going to actually learn, you know, like, okay, you're in a city at night, just going around, and you see some dude, like, whatever, you get the point, right? You will never, ever learn that in any sort of formal institution.
See, one thing I will, I guess, give public schools, like, one pro, is that through my years, I have definitely learned to socialize with people.
Yeah.
But you can only learn how to socialize with people if you kind of go out there and socialize with people.
If you're willing to, yeah.
Because if you don't put yourself out there, you'll never learn how to do it. And I definitely was the type of person that I would talk with literally everyone. Like if you remember, like,
exactly, yeah.
I talked with everyone and pretty much everyone knew me. And not gonna lie, like, I'm a huge introvert. Like, kind of hate people. Like, and definitely after high school, I stopped talking to literally everyone. Like,
same here.
But you.
Pretty
like,
much, yeah. We're the only two from our high school that we continuously associate with.
Like, I will still, like, check up on some old high school friends once in a while, you know, but there is no, like, consistency, because I realized that most of the people that I talk to and the people that talk to me, it was strictly because we were in the same environment, and they're like, I'll just talk to you to pass the time, you know. And I'm a pretty good at passing time, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a good pastime, but because I would just fuck around the entire time. Like, it got pretty bad. Like, I would distract a lot of people, and then the teacher would make me move seats, and then I would talk to those people because I was that guy.
Exactly. You know? And that was probably the one thing that I got in trouble for, literally every year, arguably every day, ever since kindergarten, was talking too much, right? But I learned, the older I got, and even now in college, I don't nearly talk out as much anymore, but I still, you know, I've learned how to manage it, you know, when you can properly fit in, like, a little quip here or talking out here, knowing when to and when not to, right? You figure it out if you're one of those kids that is constantly talking just all the time. If that's just you figure out how to work it, I guess.
How to cheat the system,
basically. Yeah. But the older I got, I realized this is how I learn. Being a social person, I would much rather I used to love in government classes, social studies classes, we would have debates where, you know, you come in, all the desks are in a circle, and it's just wide open discussion. I love those. And I would much rather go to class every day, sit in, like, a big group, teachers like, all right, here's the topic, here's our central hub, put that in the middle of the circle, and then we just talk around it. She gives knowledge here, we're all bouncing off each other. I'm going to take a lot away from that, more than grid formation, front-facing, whiteboard, information feeding to me. I write down notes that I probably won't remember the next week.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Like, I guess that's how our brains are wired. We kind of have to tie information together to actually remember it, because There's this memorization method called the Roman Room. I don't know if you've ever heard about it.
I haven't.
Basically, you kind of make this storage place in your mind for information, and you kind of think of it as a physical, tangible thing. So, say you basically start thinking, and you kind of build a room or a house or something like that, you know? And say you open the doors, and there's at first nothing, but then you're like, okay, I want to remember this thing, and I'm going to associate this object to the thing that I want to remember. Say if you want to remember some sort of date or something like that, like you would have a calendar and something would be written on it, and that association with I guess a physical object that's kind of in your head, the association, it creates a stronger memory. And that's how, like, all these world records about like memorization of numbers, you know, that's how people do it, is they associate the number to a tangible object that they can see in their brain,
Yeah.
you know. And so that's kind of the same with open debates and open discussions, is when your point is pitted against someone else's, that's when you make the association, where you might be wrong, where you're right, you know. So say you have one point of view, and you're like, okay, based on my point of view, his point of view is wrong because of this, and this,
Yeah.
you know. And like you were saying, if information is just fed to you through a screen, or your teacher's lecturing at you for an hour, you will not remember anything like that.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many times, because when I was little, I knew right off the bat sleeping in class is wrong, right? And I'm like, why would anyone want to do that? But the older I got, especially latter years of high school, and I think it happened once in college, but oh man, during lectures, I just clock out, you know. And that might be another reason why I'm also very inquisitive, right? Like, first of all, I want to learn about the world that I live in. You know, I question everything, not like I'm a skeptic. I just want to know. That's all it is. But I think another reason, reviewing, you know, my educational career and how I am in school and everything, is for me to attach that knowledge to something, you know, like, okay, like a bookmark, you know, page marker. So if, say, the teacher's giving a lecture, and to other people, I'm the annoying kid that's always asking questions. Meanwhile, no, I'm methodically memorizing all this because I'm attaching this first section to this bookmark, this question, then the next section of this question, this section of this question, and so on and so forth. And this year, with the classes that I'm taking, both of my professors are very, very welcoming of questions, you know, because, like I said, we're all adults. We're at this level of, I guess you could call it heightened awareness, honestly. And they're like, you're just as much a part of this class as I am. So whatever you want to say it. Granted, there are definitely some people that hear, oh, whatever I want to say, and give them an inch, they take a mile.
Yep.
But I guess, little tangent into that, I see those people, and although you and I go back and forth about what we think about them and all that, because I was that kid at one point, right? I do my best to, I guess, level with them or try to understand them. And yeah, like, forefront, opinions come flying in, and I'm like, gosh, shut up. But then it's like a sort of a ripple flashback, right? And to where I know that there's been thousands of people thinking that about me, and I'm like, well, what makes them so different, you know?
But see, I think a lot of people are just, I don't want to say a lot of people. Well, there's definitely a majority of people that are just kind of stupid, and they just say stupid things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how you look at it, like any perspective you take,
Mm-hmm.
that was a stupid statement or that was a stupid question.
Yeah.
Like people say, yeah, there's no stupid questions, but I purposefully have tested that theory and found stupid questions and I've gotten stupid answers, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I try to see things from different perspectives, like from at least two different perspectives. Like
Right.
even about something that I'm thinking of, like if I have a thought and I'm like, okay, this is kind of opinionated and this is what I think about this subject or topic or what have you. I kind of look at it first. How would someone from an opposing view
Exactly.
look
I do
at
that
this?
same thing.
Yeah, and then how would someone unrelated to everything? How would they look at it?
Yeah.
You know, and that generally gives me a better grasp of what I believe, I guess, and how to counter various arguments about that subject, you know, and that's kind of what I do for fun because I'm a nerd and I just think a lot and definitely do the thing where you have like mock arguments, you know,
Yeah.
thinking what you could
play
say,
it all out
yeah,
before it actually.
yeah.
It's like the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
during his fights. And
Oh
all that.
yeah. He like talks about everything.
He plays
like,
it out before it actually happens.
So.
Some might argue that it's a bad habit. I argue with myself whether it's a bad habit or not. But I have a habit of prefacing nearly all of my questions with something before I ask the actual question. So, and this just happened on like the first day of class or so. But I'll have a question and I'll think it over and I'm like, do I need to ask this question? First of all, yes, I want to ask this question. Am I going to get a solid answer from asking this question? Yes. Okay, go for it. But what if, you know?
Yeah.
And that what if turns into me. I'll have the time to ask the question, and I'm like, first of all, let me just say, blah 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 blah. Blah. Again, that's not to say blah 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 blah, blah and then I'll ask the actual question. And I had someone tell me last year, I don't remember who it was, but I think this was when I first began going to this Bible study group that I was a part of. This one of the members there, she was a very nice girl. She goes, when she heard me prefacing what I was about to ask, she goes, just ask the question. Don't put yourself in a box like that, because we're not putting you in a box like that. Like, be you. We're accepting. We're not gonna judge you based on whatever question you ask, you know. And it was a very I didn't expect that little thing to hit me as hard as it did, but it was just like moments in movies where a character has a sudden realization. It zooms into their mind and all these thoughts come back, you know. And that was how I felt when she had said that, because I had been thinking back to the numerous, like, plethora of times that I'd preface whatever question I asked, and it was quite ironic because here I am. I'm an inquisitive person. I ask questions literally all the time. And at some point, I started putting up a defensive wall, I guess, before I asked the question as a just in case.
Well, I guess you could kind of see it as a self-preservation mechanism, you know, where it's like you don't want any outward threats coming at you just because of one thing that you said, so you kind of like build up a defense against anything. I don't know, it's very different in college. I will definitely say that, because like from what you said, that the students and the professors are kind of on the same level, you know, they're just people. And I think part of the reason is that people fork out tons of money to go to college.
Seriously, though.
Like, I think it's definitely absurd. Like, I was actually having a conversation about this maybe a month ago And this girl that I was talking to, she was like, yeah, college should be free and like all this other stuff like that. And, the rich people should pay for it and everything like that. And I was like, okay, well, if we take the monetary value out of college, who will actually go there to learn? And, who there will actually learn, Because in public school, there's no, like you said, it was free.
There's no drive.
Yeah. So you don't do, like, whatever you're supposed to do. Because a lot of the times in college, it's like, okay, I don't want to go to this class. Can I afford not to go to this class?
Exactly.
I'm paying like thousands of dollars.
Your input directly affects your output.
Yeah.
100%. Whereas in public school, you didn't have to do anything.
Yep.
And I was just like, my senior year, there was one of my classes, I probably went to that class a total of 4 times in the entire year.
Yeah, that was my sophomore year.
Yeah, the rest of the classes, I just kind of weaseled my way through. Only class I really tried in was our orchestra class, but that was because music was one of my passions, and that was strictly me. That was something that I wanted to do for myself. Not plus, us, you, and all of our friends in that class and all that. But we all had this love for music and everything. But yeah, every other class, there wasn't anything keeping you.
Yeah, there was no motivation at all because I guess a D or an F on your transcript, that doesn't really matter all that much. Like, yeah, you could argue that your GPA is very important and all this other stuff, but I guess there is not necessarily a correlation between GPA and how intelligent a person is.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I would say there's like a little correlation, because like complete idiots cannot get a 4.0. But
I think part of it is just at the very base of it, it's your ability to just do work.
Yeah, it's basically how well can you follow the rules and like how well can you do what is given to you.
Yeah.
And like based on these criteria.
Obedience.
Yeah. So
Maybe, I don't know.
there's no room for creativity or anything like that. But I guess if you factor in creativity, there's no way that you could grade it. But again, do you really need to grade anything? Anyways, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, I was talking to her and she was like, wow, I never really thought of it that way. Like after I explained that if there's no monetary value or there's no value to school in general, people will have less incentive to actually learn what they're being taught. Because I have definitely tried harder in college than I have ever tried in
110%.
K through 12.
Yeah.
Like I have stayed up all night for a test because I have a test the next day.
Yep.
It's just in high school I really didn't give a shit. Like I have a test, oh okay, whatever. Like I'll look off of someone else's paper. Like half the tests I did I cheated on. Like it was kind of whatever. And in high school or in college, I definitely started trying a lot harder because I remember last semester and the previous semester before that, I was taking Bio 111 and 112, and I definitely put a lot of effort into those classes. I get easily distracted, and so it got to the point where I'm sitting in my room, and I'm like, okay, I need to get this shit done because like my grade is depending on this. Like it's gonna be rough if I don't learn this material. So I took my PS4, I took my phone, I put any other distractions, like I placed it on the other side of my door, closed the door, locked it, and everything. Like I was serious about it. Like
Dang.
I would sit there and stare at the freaking monitor for hours, and I rewrote every slide that there was about biology and how the ribosomes do their thing. Like frankly, I don't remember a lot of the things from biology, but I was very much
You were
dedicated. Yeah. And that lasted not very long because right now I'm in a chemistry class and it's 4 hours long and I want to kill myself and it's just awful. Like I walk into that class and I don't know what, but there's like a switch. It's just like, and I still haven't figured it out because I go in and I just feel like crap. Like I just sit there pissed off for 4 hours. Like I don't know why, like, cause I kind of know the material already, but I guess the reason I'm mad about being there is it's a requirement for the degree that I need, but I'll never use chemistry in the field, you know, in where I'm going to. And I think those requirements are more harmful than helpful because right now I'm definitely considering just dropping out of school because of those stupid requirements. Like straight up. Like I'm going to talk to my advisor and if I can't transfer without chemistry, I'm definitely going to tell her that I'm dropping out of school because of that. Because it's kind of my hill to die on, you know. Like it's kind of stupid and I definitely won't beat the system in any way, but I just think it's pathological to the core because I really don't need those classes. Like I get that they're trying to teach me something or they're trying to make me think in a different or make me see through a different lens, you know. But there's definitely a limit to that.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm just straight up not having a good time. And yeah, chemistry is definitely one of the hardest classes I've taken. And this is like the second like chemistry class after intro. Like I'm not completely stupid, but I guess chemistry is just not my thing.
You said what's your focus? It's
psychology, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm that same way. So my focus is communications, you know, and Gold Talk Radio. But likewise, and I'm pretty sure it's almost for every degree, unless you're an auto mechanic, you need science classes.
Yeah.
And see, my thought is, okay, in what universe do these two correlate?
See, the way that I kind of have started thinking about it is that, like how we referenced capitalism and everything like that in businesses, you know, I have definitely seen higher level education as more of a business than an actual educational enterprise or something like that, you know, because from what it looks like, the first 2 years, your associate's degree, it's all just more of high school.
It's a high school repeat, yeah. Even
and
my mom says that too.
And all of like people spend thousands and thousands of dollars on those 2 years, and it's just random bullshit. And a lot of people kind of drop out because of that, you know?
Well, another thing that would get me is we would be in those high school repeat classes, right? And I would see people, and I had my areas of struggle, but legitimate struggle with whatever topic because they had never experienced it before, right? Even though I was completely aware it's a repeat of a high school class, you know. And we'll take college algebra. I'll use that as an example. You're taught college algebra in high school.
Yeah.
Right? Not necessarily AP algebra or whatever, but if you're going through standardized, by your senior year, you end up taking a college algebra class, you know. And to pin the term college on it is, I almost feel like it's a bit of an intimidation tactic, you know, or if you take it, oh, I'm elite.
Yeah, like stroking an ego, you know.
Yeah. Algebra's algebra, damn it. And I would see people just struggling with it, and it baffled me because I'm like, okay, hold up. We took this in high school, but that just goes to show you that you weren't taught anything. You know? And yeah, you have to factor in, okay, is this person someone that looks like they just didn't care, or did they not focus, or whatever. But once you size them up in that regard and see, well, okay, first of all, they're in college for a reason. Obviously, they want to be here. It's like, okay, what's the school not doing? What are they not teaching and all that? And let me just say to anyone listening to this who hasn't gotten to college yet that thinks that AP courses are going to put you, quote unquote, ahead of the game, as I'm sure your school, your counselor, arguably your parents have told you, that is probably one of the biggest lies of the public schooling system.
Oh, that's for sure.
Because, and this is coming from a guy who graduated with a 2.3 GPA.
Solid. I was a 2.1.
Nice. And that was, I guess, that was my social experiment. My senior year, I decided, hey, I've tried hard for 3 years. I only need this credit here, this credit there. I wonder what would happen if I just forwent everything else, right? Sure enough, there I am walking down the aisle getting my diploma, same as the girl who did her damnedest to get a 4.0.
Yep,
She's wearing
everything.
The specialized cords signalizing this achievement. I'm like, excuse me, but we both have the same diploma. Matter of fact, if you just look at the diplomas alone, you would think we graduated with the exact same criteria.
Yep.
Because that was another thing that got me. Like, we go to a community college,
Mm-hmm.
right? There were people that I knew our grades before, graduated with honors in this, specialized this garnishment here, whatever. And yet we were all in the same school.
Yep.
Sometimes taking the same exact classes. And you're like, what does that say? Most people, they really don't think about that. They see, oh, I graduated with this, and now I'm doing this. I'm above you. Not really. Arguably, in some cases, you're below a lot of those people that you had been blown up to believe that you were above, all because of your high school achievements.
See, I think the whole GPA system, it's kind of stupid, and I guess it's a criteria for how prestigious of a school you want to go to after.
Yeah, seriously.
But like right now in college, I have a 3.5 GPA. That's higher than I've ever had in my entire schooling career, And basically the only reason I want to keep it up is so I can transfer to more quote unquote prestigious school, and so get a diploma from a better looking university, so people won't frown upon what school I graduated from, and it's all kind of based on social standards, because all the classes are kind of the same. Yeah, you may go to Harvard, you may go to MIT or anything like that. They say that geniuses are kind of raised there and everything like that, but I think a lot of institutions are definitely leaving out people who are also genuinely smart and genuinely intelligent.
Yeah.
But they just kind of want to rebel because they don't agree with how the institutions are run,
exactly,
with how schooling systems are, with what they are being taught, And I'm not saying I'm a genius or anything like that, but I definitely see through the veil, I just always believed it was kind of bullshit. And yeah, I still think that one of the best things that happened to me in school was I became socialized, and that's it. That's pretty much all I will give credit for.
Yeah.
For all the 12 years.
I definitely agree that the biggest things that I actually learned from high school, definitely, middle school somewhat, were how to carry myself socially. Things to say, what not to say, learning when I actually talk too much versus these people who are simply harshing down for whatever reasons they got going on. Yeah, I mean, once I got to college, I befriended a lot of homeschoolers, right? Kids that were homeschooled, of which I'd never met before. You know, I'd never experienced that. I didn't know really how it went. And the one thing that I saw in these kids was they lacked that.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, they lacked it all around. The whole social comfort, how to carry yourself socially. They knew how to carry themselves around each other because that was the only group that they were around. But the more I would observe them, you know, kind of like what is that? The lady who studied chimpanzees.
Oh yeah.
Jane Goodall.
Yeah.
The more I observed them, you know, apart from when I wasn't partaking with them and hangouts and stuff, it became apparent that if you were to throw them literally anywhere else in the world, they'd be completely lost.
Yeah.
You know?
They would be mauled.
Yeah.
And that would be the end of that.
And it
know?
would kind of scare them because they have never had any previous experience with the world, really. And yeah, I do agree. Public school does an excellent job of getting a child to interact with the world, arguably in a safe place, you know, but still, you can't necessarily shelter a child.
Oh, yeah. That's
you
for
know,
sure.
so public schooling system, way to go on your social teachings. You really nail it there. But
That's about it, yeah.
yeah, we'll have to have a firm talking to when you get home about your educational achievements or lack thereof.
Definitely bring a belt. Yeah.
We'll just wait till your father gets home. So yeah, that's our position on schooling in general, college, K through 12, where we're at. We want to thank you for this. Yevgeniy, I thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Anytime. I'm down to discuss any topic. You know.
And I definitely think that when it comes to education, as I'm sure all of you have heard, you definitely know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I definitely try.
Yeah, seriously.
But, I mean, this is all just personal experience, you know, and I'm sure other people will advocate for other things and anything like that. But yeah, it's all just personal experiences and what I personally think of while going through the 12 years of public schooling. You know? So I just, you know, don't think it's doing its part.
I can agree to that.
And that's well.
It's doing a part.
Yeah, a part, but it's very insignificant. and the part that it's doing well, it's kind of doing it non-deliberately.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because the socializing aspect is simply because they have amassed a bunch of kids into this one area.
Like, well, we can't hold them in this area for too long.
Yeah.
We need to let them out.
Yeah, go have recess for 30 minutes.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, but it's kind of weird when you realize that recess was just mandatory breaks that teachers needed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily like
It's like most employers. Yeah, you're
after working for a certain amount of time,
you're required
to take a break.
which is so funny.
So
So that's been this episode. Really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next one. Peace.